Lena Voss sat alone in her small apartment on Earth, staring at the quiet screen in front of her. Outside the window, the night sky was full of stars, but none of them felt close anymore. Her best friend, Jonah Reyes, had left Earth 3 months ago. He had joined a science crew traveling to a distant planet. Since then, everything had changed. They used to talk every day. They shared coffee, ideas, and dreams of exploring the stars together. They built things together, laughed together. Jonah had always been the one who believed in her, even when no one else did. But now, Lena felt like she was floating in space without him. At first, they sent messages often, funny videos, science jokes, memories of the past. But as Jonah's ship moved farther away, the time delay grew. His last message came 2 weeks ago. It was short. It's just a smile and I'll try to send more soon. Things are busy. Since then, silence. Lena didn't blame him. She understood space missions were hard. But still, she missed him. Not just his words, she missed his presence, his voice. The way he made everything feel possible. She tried to keep busy. Her lab. Work on the new drive technology continued. Her team still looked up to her. But every time she made progress, she thought, I wish Jonah could see this. Every breakthrough felt less exciting without sharing it with him. One evening she sat with her notebook, pages full of calculations. She suddenly dropped her pen and whispered, I miss you. There was no one to hear, but deep inside her, something stirred. That old human feeling, that HFY spark, the one that said, we don't give up, we don't let the ones we love disappear, into silence. So Lena got up. She didn't know exactly what she would do. But she knew one thing. If there was a way to reach Jonah not just through data, but through something more, she would find it. She began to study not just the FTL drive mechanics, but the strange echoes the drive created in space. Some scientists believed they were just noise. But Lena had a theory. What if those echoes weren't just technical leftovers? What if they were memories, imprints of people who traveled? She remembered Jonah's favorite quote, "The universe doesn't forget a sit, waits for us." A soft smile touched her face. Hope started to grow again. She opened her notebook and wrote 4 words at the top of a clean page. Find a way. Back. Maybe it would take time. Maybe it would take everything she had. But she wouldn't stop trying. She would find a way to reconnect not just with Jonah, but with the part of herself that had grown quiet since he left. The stars still waited, and Lena Voss wasn't done yet. Lena Voss sat at her desk long after the lights in the science building had dimmed. The quiet hum of computers and distant beeps filled the air. She should have gone home hours ago, but her heart wouldn't let her rest. She stared at the message logs again. Jonah Reyes's last message was still there, frozen in time. His smile, his voice, his promise. 2 weeks and nothing since. She whispered to herself, "Where are you, Jonah?" She had tried to stay strong. She told her team she was fine. She smiled during meetings. She answered questions about the FTL drive's progress. But every time she walked into the lab, her eyes looked for him, even though she knew he wasn't there. She remembered the day he left. He had hugged her tightly and said, "You'll make history, Lena. Just don't forget me when you're famous." She had laughed then. But now the memory felt like a knot in her chest. The truth was, she didn't want to make history without him. Jonah wasn't just a friend. He was her support, her balance. He was the one who believed in her when she failed over and over. He reminded her why humans kept going. Why they reached for the stars even when it hurt. That night, Lena opened an old folder on her screen. Inside were videos from their early tests, back when the FTL drive didn't work and everything seemed hopeless. She watched Jonah laugh as the engine sputtered. It said, "Failure means we're trying something big." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I need to try something big again," she whispered. Then, an idea sparked. What if the FTL drive could be used not just to travel, but to listen? She had been studying the strange signals left behind by the first test. Most scientists thought they were noise, random energy. But Lena had noticed patterned shapes that repeated, sounds that seemed almost like whispers. She ran the data again, this time with emotional frequency filters. These were tools they used to study how neural waves changed during flight. Most called them useless. But Lena wasn't looking for math now. She was looking for a connection. The computer processed slowly. She waited, holding her breath after. A few minutes, the screen blinked. A low, static-filled tone played softly. Faint, distant, but there was something there, a voice. Her heart jumped. "Is it you?" She asked the screen. The signal wasn't clear. It wasn't a message she could understand. But something deep inside her felt it. A familiar pull. Like Jonah's presence brushing against her thoughts. Was it possible? Could the FTL drive be bending more than space and time? Could it be touching the edge of memory? Of feeling? She saved the data and backed it up in 3 places. Then she wrote a note to herself. If we can't reach with words, maybe we can reach with feeling. The idea seemed wild, impossible. But so was the FTL drive itself. Once, Lena didn't have a plan yet. She didn't know how to send a signal that carried emotion. This was how humans worked. They dreamed big. Tried, failed, tried again. They believed in impossible things, because sometimes they came true. She stood up and looked out the window. The stars still hung above, quiet and steady. Jonah was somewhere out there. She wasn't done trying. With her Phi spirit burning again, Lena whispered, "You're not alone. I'm coming." Every morning, Lena Voss opened the same folder. Inside were recordings of Jonah Reyes's voice. His last message played with a soft echo now, as if even the sound had grown lonely. He had said, "I'll try to send more soon. Miss Earth. Miss you." Then silence. The galaxy was wide and full of noise ships, systems, signals. But all Lena heard was the quiet space between her and Jonah. Her sadness wasn't loud. It was quiet, heavy, always there like a shadow beside her. She walked to the lab window and looked out across the launch pads. In the distance, the second test ship stood ready. But she wasn't focused on the next launch. Her mind kept going back to the faint signal she had found, something that felt like Jonah, even though she couldn't prove it. She wanted to tell someone. She wanted to say, "I think I felt him." But she didn't. No one would understand. They would call it hope mixed with loneliness. And maybe it was, but humans had always followed hope. That was their strength. Lena sat down and opened a new file. This one was different. It wasn't for the council or the science team. It was for Jonah. She began to type. "Jonah, if you can hear this, Evan, just a piece of it time, still here. I'm still trying. Gone. Or if you even remember me in that echo of space. But I remember you. Every day. I miss the way you believed in people. In me. I miss your dumb jokes and your way of making the impossible feel close. I think the FTL drive did something strange, something we didn't understand. Maybe it pulled you through more than space. Maybe through memory, time, feeling. I don't know how to reach you, but I'm trying. That's what humans do. We try, even when we're lost." She stopped. Her fingers shook a little. Then she saved the file and linked it to the same frequency range where she had found the echo before. It was a long shot, but she wanted to believe that somewhere in the loops of broken time, he might hear even a whisper of her later that day. Lena visited the FTL chamber. The test ship Odyssey 2 was being prepared for launch. A new team would fly it. She watched them through the glass, laughing, adjusting tools, ready for the stars. She envied them. But more than that, she worried for them. The last crew, including Jonah, was still lost. No wreckage, no death, just gone, caught in a place no one could explain. She walked to the edge of the platform and whispered to herself, "He's not just data on a report. He's a person, a friend." She turned to the main console and checked the drive logs again. No new signals. No messages. But she didn't feel empty, because for the first time in weeks, she had done something. She had reached out. Maybe, just maybe, that meant something. The HFY spirit inside her, the thing that made humans special, was not strength or power. It was the refusal to let go. The ability to keep loving, keep believing. Even when the sky gave no answer, she closed her eyes and said quietly, "If you're still out there, Jonah, I'll find a way." The stars above didn't speak. But Lena believed they were listening, and that belief was enough for now. Lena Voss sat on the edge of her bed, holding a small silver pendant in her hand. It wasn't expensive or rare. It was a gift Jonah had given her 2 years ago, right before their first FTL test. On the back, it had one word engraved: forward. She ran her thumb over the word and sighed. "Where are you?" she whispered. The space between them felt larger each day. Jonah had been her closest friend. His voice used to be part of her daily life. Now it lived only in memories and recordings. In small metal tokens like this, she had tried everything. Messages, signal scans, even emotional wave tests. The faint signal she found earlier, possibly connected to Jonah, had not returned. Some in the lab told her to stop chasing ghosts, but Lena didn't believe it was a ghost. She believed it was. Him and she couldn't stop now. That morning, Lena returned to the lab early, before the others arrived. She opened her private logs and studied the echo pattern again. It still didn't look like anything most scientists could explain. But she had noticed something. Each spike in the pattern matched a moment when she had felt something strong. Loneliness. Hope. Longing. Was it possible the drive responded to more than physics? She remembered Jonah's words. Maybe one day, thought will fly faster than light. Lena began working, not on the drive itself, but on a small module. Something simple. A transmitter not for data, but for emotion. She knew it sounded foolish, but humans had always done foolish things in the name of love, of connection, of hope. That was part of who they were. She recorded a new message, not with words, but with tones, light pulses, and soft music. She layered it with emotional brainwave patterns, her own thoughts, her feelings. It was all real, all raw. Then she sent it out along the same channel where the echo had once appeared. It wasn't science. Not exactly. It was faith wrapped in technology. Later that night, Lena walked outside and sat beneath the stars. She closed her eyes and let herself imagine. Jonah, sitting on the other side of space, hearing her, feeling her, remembering her. She didn't expect a reply, but hope doesn't always wait for proof. She sat quietly, heart full, head lifted. Then her cum device buzzed. She grabbed it quickly. The signal was weak, scattered, but there it was again. The same emotional pattern, the same quiet echo, stronger this time, a rhythm like a heartbeat. Matching hers, she gasped. "Jonah," she whispered. No words came through. No face appeared. But the signal was there. A connection. She didn't know how. She didn't know why. But something had changed. The silence was no longer empty. Lena smiled, her eyes wet with tears. She stood and looked at the stars. She didn't feel distant anymore, somehow. Across light years, across time, across fear and doubt, something had reached back. It was small. It was fragile. But it was real, and it was enough to keep going. Asterisk. Lena Voss couldn't sleep. The tiny signal she received the night before still echoed in her thoughts. It hadn't carried any words. It hadn't even been clear. But it had responded. To her message, a match in rhythm, a pulse of energy. Almost like a heartbeat. It gave her one feeling: hope. She sat at her desk in the early morning, a cup of cold coffee beside her. The stars outside her window seemed a little brighter now, as if they knew something had changed. She replayed the signal again, over and over. Her eyes studied every wave, every curve, every slight pulse. "It's him," she said softly. "Hey." No, it's him. Still, there was no way to prove it. Not yet. The rest of the team was busy with preparations for the second test flight of the FTL drive. They wanted to move forward, to send new explorers into the stars. But Lena couldn't. Stop thinking about the old QAThe ones still out there. Still waiting. Still unheard, especially Jonah. She walked to the lab's observation room and stared at the empty seat he used to sit in. He always sat with his legs crossed, leaning back, joking about how strange human brains were, how they chased dreams instead. Of safety now, Lena understood what he meant. Dreams were hard. Risky, lonely, but they were worth chasing. She returned to her desk and wrote a new message. Not just with emotion this time, but with a memory. She loaded one of their old lab recordings into the signal. It was simple, a clip of them laughing during a failed test, both of them covered in wires and grease. Jonah's voice filled the room. Lena, we may blow up the floor, but we'll still be the smartest people here. She smiled and shook her head. He always knew how to make the darkness feel lighter. She embedded the clip into a new wave pattern and added a line of her own voice. You're not forgotten. You're not alone. Then, with a deep breath, she sent it. The signal flew into space, carried by the same strange path the drive had torn through months ago. It would take hours, maybe days, to reach the place where the last crew vanished. She didn't expect a fast reply, but she waited anyway. The next few days passed slowly. Lena kept working. She helped with ship systems, ran lab tests, smiled when people spoke to her. But inside, part of her was always listening, hoping, believing. Then one evening, as she was preparing to leave the lab, her console lit up. Incoming. Pattern detected. Her hand shook as she opened it. It was the same energy signature, but stronger now. And layered beneath it, very faintly, came sound. She pressed play. A quiet laugh, familiar. Her breath caught in her throat. Then a voice, Jonah's voice. Lena, you sent ... coffee joke. I remember. The message broke up into static. But it was there. It was him, not gone, not lost. Just ... far. Tears filled her eyes. She touched the console gently, as if she could reach through it and hold on to the sound. He remembered he had received her message. He had laughed. And that was everything. She whispered to the quiet room, I'm going to bring you home. Matter what it took, no matter how long it took. Because humans didn't give up on those they loved. They built bridges between stars. They reached through silence. They kept trying. That was their power. That was their hope. That was HFY. Asterisk, Lena Voss. Sat on the lab floor with her back against the wall, her knees pulled close to her chest. The message from Jonah still played softly in her ear, broken and full of static. Lena, you sent. Coffee joke. I remember. She'd listened to it again and again. It wasn't long. It wasn't clear, but it was real. He was still out there. He remembered her. And that small moment had become her light in the darkness. The stars outside looked the same, but they felt different now. Before, they reminded her of distance, of silence, of everything she had lost. Now, they reminded her of possibility. But even with the signal, she didn't know how to bring him back. The council still called Jonah's ship missing. The official reports said they had been lost during the first FTL test. Lena had tried to explain her findings, the echoes, the signals, the feelings, but most scientists didn't believe her. It's just noise, they said. There's no proof. But she didn't need proof anymore. She had faith, and more than that, she had purpose. Lena stood up and looked at the whiteboard across the room. It was full of notes, symbols, patterns, days of her research. She had been trying to map how emotion could move through the FTL channel, how thought and memory might travel faster than words. It sounded strange, even to her, but humans had always been strange. That's why they reached the stars before they were. Ready? Because they believed. She turned on her console and recorded a new message, not just for Jonah, but for herself. You remembered me, Jonah. I heard your voice. That means you're alive. That means you're still you. I don't know where you are. I don't know what time means, where you're stuck. But I'm going to reach you. I don't care what the council says. I don't care how far I have to go. I made a promise, maybe not in words, but in my heart. I promised I'd never let you be forgotten. I promised I'd try, and I will. She saved the message and sent it on the same channel. After that, she sat quietly and stared at the stars. The sky didn't speak, but deep down she felt something. A calm warmth, a connection. She wasn't just a scientist anymore. She wasn't just trying to solve a problem. She was trying to bring a friend home. That night, she went for a walk. The air was cool. The sky above was filled with blinking satellites and distant planets. Somewhere in all that darkness, Jonah was waiting, and she would not stop until he knew. He mattered. She walked past the launch yard, where the new test ship stood ready. Engineers were finishing checks. The mission was scheduled for the next month. A new crew would go farther, maybe faster, but none of them were looking for the past. Lena was. She stood there for a long time. Then an idea began to form. What if she joined the flight? What if she helped guide the ship, not just through stars, but through memory? What if her heart, her longing was the key? She didn't know if the council would approve. She didn't know if the crew would understand. But she knew one thing for sure. She was not letting Jonah fade into silence again, because she was human, and humans didn't walk away from the ones they cared about. They reached, they tried, they hoped, and sometimes that was enough to change the stars. Lena Voss stood in front of the mission board with her arms crossed. The new ship, Odyssey 2, was ready. The crew was selected. The launch date was set, but she wasn't on the list. Not yet. The mission leaders didn't want her on board. You're more valuable on Earth, they said. You're the mind behind the FTL drive. We can't risk you. But Lena didn't care about safety. She cared about Jonah, and he was still lost that morning. She met with the flight director. Her voice was calm but full of fire. I need to be on that ship, she said. You know why? The director looked. At her, Lena, the council won't like this. They've already warned us not to go chasing after the past. This mission is about the future. She shook her head. Jonah is the future. He's proof that connection still exists even beyond time and space. I've heard him. I've felt him. He's out there. I'm going to find him. The room fell silent. Then slowly, the director nodded. You get one seat, he said. Lena smiled through tears. That night, she stood under the stars again. But this time, she didn't feel helpless. She felt ready. She sat by her window and recorded one last message to Jonah before the flight. Jonah, I'm coming. Maybe I should have done this sooner. Maybe I was afraid. But not anymore. I'm done waiting. You're not just a voice in the dark. You're my friend. And humans don't give up on their friends. I don't know what's out there, but I'm going to find the place where you've been left behind. I promise. She loaded the message into the ship's system. It would play again and again across the same strange frequency where they had made contact before. The next day, Lena boarded Odyssey 2. The crew greeted her with quiet respect. They had heard what she was trying to do. Some thought it was crazy. Some thought it was brave, but they all knew it was human. The ship launched under a clear sky. Earth fell away beneath them. The stars grew brighter. Space opened like a wide sea full of secrets. Lena sat near the control panel, eyes on the scanner. Every second, she searched for the signal. At first nothing, but then, just past the first jump, a soft pulse blinked across the screen. Weak, familiar. Her heart raced. She tapped into the channel and spoke. Jonah, it's me. I'm close now. Can you hear me? No reply. She waited. Then came a whisper, Lena. It was him. Her voice broke. I'm here. I'm not leaving without you. The ship moved forward. The energy field around them shimmered. Time twisted. Space bent, and deep in that place between worlds, the past and present touched. For a moment, everything felt still. Then a light, not bright, not loud, but warm. It came from the edge of the FTL field. A small signal pod. It held a memory recording. A message. A location. Jonah's voice again, clearer now. I knew you'd come. I knew you wouldn't give up. Lena pressed her hand to her chest. I didn't. The mission wasn't over yet. But she had found the path. A thread between two hearts. stretched across the stars, because humans didn't quit. They believed, they hoped, they loved, and sometimes. That was all the universe needed to open a door. The inside of Odyssey 2 was quiet. The crew moved carefully as the ship entered the strange zone where space twisted and time felt broken. The stars outside no longer stood still. They shimmered, like they were being seen through water. Lena Voss sat at the console, her hands shaking slightly. It followed the signal to this place. A place where no map worked, where past and present mixed, where the first QAThe 1 Jonah had joined had vanished. But now Lena had a thread, a pulse, a path. The small signal pod they found carried Jonah's message. I knew you'd come. I knew you wouldn't give up. Lena played it again, just to hear his voice. It made the strange space feel a little less empty. The crew had orders to scan the zone for danger and return if anything became unstable. But Lena wasn't here to scan. She was here to bring him back. She had studied everything, the echoes, brainwave signals, the emotional patterns. She believed Jonah wasn't lost. He was trapped, caught in a time loop, alive, but reliving the same moments again and again. And he remembered her. That was the key. Prepare the harmonic pulse, Lena said quietly to the co-pilot. The co-pilot nodded. Are you sure this will work? No, she said. But it's our best chance. They activated the device. Lena had built a signal booster designed not just to send data, but to send feeling. It wasn't traditional science. It was heart, an instinct mixed with tech and hope. The ship released the pulse-soft wave, full of light and sound and memory. It carried her message again, this time deeper, stronger. Jonah, I'm here. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You can feel me. Follow the sound. Follow me home. The pulse echoed into the loop, and they waited. Seconds passed, then minutes. Lena stared at the screen. The stars twisted. The ship shook gently. Anything? The co-pilot asked. Wait, she whispered. Another signal blinked. A shape formed in the darkness ahead. A ship, broken but alive. It was the Odyssey. Lena jumped to her feet. We found them. The damaged ship floated slowly toward them, guided by the signal. Its lights were weak, but they were on. They followed the pulse, Lena said, smiling. Through tears, the connection wasn't perfect. The time loop hadn't fully broken. But Jonah's ship had found the path out. The recovery team moved quickly. As they docked with the old ship, Lena waited near the airlock, her heart pounding. Then dash at last. The door opened, and there he was, Jonah Reyes. His face looked tired, older, but his eyes were the same. He smiled the moment he saw her. You really came, he said softly. Lena nodded, tears falling. I told you I would. They hugged quietly as the crew stood around them. I thought I was going to disappear, Jonah whispered. I thought the world would forget me. Lena shook her head. Not while I was still breathing. The stars around them began to settle. The time loop slowly dissolved. The path back to real space was open as Odyssey 2 turned toward home. Lena looked out the window once more. She had felt distant, lost, powerless. But now she had reached through the silence. She had found the one she cared about. Not with force, but with heart, because humans don't give up. They hold on. They believe in the impossible. They remember the ones they love. And that is what makes them strong. Lena Voss sat near the window of Odyssey 2, watching the stars slowly return to normal. The ship had left the strange loop behind. Space looked quiet again. Still real. But inside her, things still felt strange. Jonah was safe now. He was resting. In the medical bay, the doctors said he was tired but stable. His body was fine, his mind would take time, and Lena understood that. Because even now, she still felt far from him. She had spent months trying to reach Jonah. Months filled with hope, silence, sadness, and long nights alone. She had fought to believe he was still out there, and she had been right. But reconnecting wasn't just about finding someone. It was about finding your way back to each other. That part was harder. Jonah smiled when he saw her. He had hugged her like he never wanted to let go. But after the rescue, he had gone quiet. He hardly spoke. He stared out the window like he was still trapped in the loop. Lena tried not to take it personally. She knew he had been through something no one could fully understand. Still, it hurt. She missed their conversations, their jokes, their connection. She missed him. Later that day, she brought 2 cups of coffee to the medical bay. She found Jonah sitting up, watching the stars. "I brought the good kind," she said softly. He smiled faintly, but didn't look at her. She sat beside him. The silence stretched between them like a thin wall. "I know it still feels weird," she said. "It's okay. You don't have to talk about anything. We can just sit." Jonah nodded slowly. They sat together, quiet, sipping warm coffee. After a few minutes, he whispered, "I thought I forgot how to be around people." Lena looked at him gently. "You didn't forget. You just paused for a while." He finally turned to face her. "How did you find me?" "I didn't stop feeling you," she said, "even when I couldn't hear you. I believed you were still there, that somewhere some part of you remembered me." Jonah looked down at his hands. "I did. Every time the loop restarted, I felt it more. Like your voice was cutting through. Like your memory wouldn't let me disappear." "That's what humans do," Lena said softly. "We don't let go. Even when the universe forgets, we remember." He blinked slowly, then said, "You saved me." She shook her head. "We saved each other." And for the first time since they left the loop, Jonah smiled, really smiled. Lena felt a small ache in her chest ease. The distance between them wasn't gone yet, but it was shrinking, one heartbeat at a time. That evening, they stood together at the front window of the ship. "So," Jonah said, his voice steadier now, "what happens when we get back?" Lena smiled. "We explain everything to the council. Show them the data, the signals, the emotional patterns. Tell them connection saved you, not just science. You think they'll believe us?" She looked up at the stars. "They don't have to. But one day they will," he nodded. "And us." She turned to him. "We go forward together." The ship moved through space gently, heading home, and though they had been apart, lost, scared, silent, they were reconnecting. Bit by bit, because distance is never the end. Not for people who care, not for people who try. Not for humans, asterisk. The Odyssey, too, glided smoothly through space, nearing Earth. The crew prepared for landing. But Lena Voss's heart was elsewhere. After months of silence, fear, and searching, she was finally coming home with Jonah Reyes. The last days had been quiet, but full of small moments that mattered. Jonah smiled more. He laughed softly at her jokes. He reached out when he felt ready. Their connection grew again slowly, like a flower opening after a long winter. One evening, as they watched the stars together, Jonah said quietly, "I don't know how to say thank you." Lena shook her head. "You don't have to. We're friends. That's what we do." At her with honest eyes, "I thought I was lost forever. But you didn't give up on me. You didn't give up on us." She smiled, feeling tears behind her eyes. "That's what humans do. We keep trying, even when the odds are against us. We believe in hope, in love, in each other." Ship's captain interrupted gently. "We are approaching Earth's orbit." Lena stood and looked out the window. The blue planet came into view, beautiful, alive, full of promise. She felt a rush of emotions, joy, relief, hope, and a deep gratitude for the strange journey that had brought them here. Jonah joined her, standing close. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. He nodded. For the first time in a long time, the ship landed smoothly. The doors opened. Family, friends, and the science team waited on the ground. Faces full of wonder and hope, Lena and Jonah stepped out together. The crowd cheered, quietly respectful and warm. Lena looked at Jonah, feeling proud and humbled. Their journey had been more than a rescue mission. It was proof that even across distance and silence, connection could survive. They walked forward side by side, ready to face the future. And Lena knew this was only the beginning, because humans were not just explorers of space, they were explorers of the heart. They reached beyond limits, not just to discover new worlds, but to find each other. And no matter how far apart they weren't, no matter how silent the stars seemed, they would always find a way back together.